And I ran from the forge to the little house at the edge of the marshes. And I ran to Miss Havisham's, where I dare not go in. I stood and I stared at the great gloomy house where nobody came and nobody went, and the weeds grew up between the flagstones. And I thought of who I was and who I might become. Then I heard a gun boom out from the prison hall, and I knew they were looking for a convict. And I kept imagining they were looking for me.
We had been playing a game.
What sort of a game?
Think strip Monopoly with ropes.
Okay. So?
Tell him. Tell.
Charlie was tied up. Suddenly, he went red. He stopped breathing.
Asthma. It was an asthma attack.
Whatever. He was lying right here. But his heart had stopped. He was dead.
It was the custom in those days to devote a whole day of court session to the passing of sentence. And to finish that day with the sentence of death. On his day, there were 32 to be sentenced, all crowded close together in a pen. And a huge congregation had assembled to watch. The judge put on his cap and confronted the 32 who were doomed to die. He spoke of civic duty and upholding of law. He singled out my convict, who had so tried to help me, as the one most signally, most rightfully, and most justly deserving to die. Then he turned to the others and sentenced them one by one to be hanged. There were men, and there were women. Some were old, and some were no older than children. Some sat in stony silence and affected not to know. Some tried to laugh, some screamed, some shivered. Most wept.
We untied him, dressed him, then put him in the car.
Why?
Some of us were scared stiff and panicked.
We've got neighbours, for God's sake. I'm a marketing executive.
You sell double glazing.
The idea of this all coming out, it was too much.
We were arguing so much, we didn't realise the car had been stolen.
By the two boys you just happened to be passing.
We knew nothing about them.
The next thing we heard, the car ended up in the Clyde. There is something else, though.
You've said enough.
What is it, Mr. Marsden?
This was going to be Charlie's last visit with us. His tastes were becoming somewhat adventurous.
He stood. He was very weak, but he stood. He never flinched. He looked the judge in the eye and said,
"My lord, I have already heard the sentence of God, but I now hear yours."
Change came over him from the day the prison door closed upon him. He wasted and became slowly weaker and worse. But he never complained. He lay on his back, looked up at the ceiling, and the light trained away.